Well, welcome back everyone to my channel, and today we're going to be covering the Prot Raid, which can be found in the northernmost room of Arcane Sanctum. To get started with the basic overview, Prot is the easiest of all the Dodge Guard bosses, and he plays an important role in the game, kind of like Morty used to, in that he's a raid that requires a little bit of everything and to accomplish, and lots of coordination among the players to finish. And he can really test the organization of players, especially when he gets out of hand, especially in his prime form. Prot can spawn in two different forms, both being nicknamed Base Prot and Prot Prime. There are a little difference between these two forms, except for Prime having more health and more damage, just generally making him harder. Usually you can kill Base with about 13 to 15 people, and Prime requiring about 18 to 20 people with EDL armor and weapons. Unlike most raid bosses that have a 72-hour respawn with a 36-hour window, Prot has a 20-hour respawn and a 20-minute window, and he rages in 15 minutes instead of the usual 20. This makes his respawn timings extremely predictable and easier to prepare for than most raids, making it easier for multiple clans to compete against this. The weird 20-hour respawn was intentionally given so that clans would need to dominate at every hour of the day to keep a monopoly on Dodge Gull. Something that I think was very smart when they added in, as it makes dominant clans really have to work hard to keep all the DG on their server. So Prot is a primarily single target boss with lots of AoE skills that does mostly physical damage. And if you play around the mechanics of the boss, you can avoid a lot of those skills and a lot of this damage. This strong single target damage from the auto attacks means you can't just get away with a weak tank like you can with Necro and Mord, and having strong healers in your DPS group also makes the raid much easier due to the amount of AoE in this as well. If not, what happens a lot, especially like in my clan, if you don't have healers and DPS groups, well, then they just don't show up, because this raid is complete AIDS when you don't have a healer with you. So Prot is mainly vulnerable to elemental damage and is more resistant to physical damage. So your mages and DG druids are going to be your primary DPS here, as well as your Dodge Gull rangers or rogues. They can also do stuff, but not as good. Especially if you're going to be creating a lock group because you are contesting another clan over for this kill. Mages and druids are going to be your best bet for DPS. Now, Prot has multiple skills, each of which is announced in chat before being executed. This appears in orange text most of the time, except for sometimes the Rotary Blades and Kinetic swing will just be announced in white text when he's casting them. So, doing a quick rundown through all those skills. Kinetic swing is a massive AoE skill that deals lots of damage in front of Prot. This can be devastating, especially to your tanks, as it is really hard to avoid. And it's going to keep your healers on their toes to keep your tanks topped off. The Optic Ray is a ranged attack on whoever has aggro. So if you are attempting to root the boss with a druid or bolus it with a ranger, one use of this will almost insta-kill them. And it makes bolusing or rooting to cheese this boss a lot harder, as it stuns them too. Optic Ray is a single target ranged nuke that targets whoever has aggro as well. This also can one-shot them Or no, I just covered that. Okay. Rotary Blades, the primary mechanic that the DPS need to play around, as it is a massive AoE around him that will reduce attack speed if hit. This does a lot of damage as well, and it will really reduce the raid, or your raid's DPS if you do get hit. There are two ways to work around this mechanic, either being that you run back away from the boss to dodge it, or you can bash the boss. Or if you can get it off, freeze at the boss as well. And that will stop this from happening. Power Surge is his ability for freezing DPS behind him. This mechanic makes positional awareness key to this fight, which we will be covering a little bit later, because if your tank cannot properly hold this boss and the different positions that most high-end clans execute with, then it could make things really difficult. And most likely your DPS will start logging out, because the screens put Prot puts up, he has 3 different screens that he can put up. He'll do ice, fire, or magic damage to players who auto-attack him. It's similar to the Moored Shroud that he puts on himself when he starts getting low, or Bloodthorn Vines, where if you just auto-attack him, then you do damage to yourself. And then he has his repairs, which at 1/3 health, he starts a repair cycle, which heals him. You can stop this, again, with bashing or freezing. Now, to handle each of the mechanics, the Kinetic Swing, Rotary Blades, and all the repairs can be stopped with interrupt abilities. Again, shield or freeze. This means that the skill Expose Weakness is crucial at every Prot raid, just like it pretty much is at almost any raid, especially for Prot, because he has very high evasions, much more than most raids do. So, but it will make things just a lot easier. The last mechanic that we're going to go over, just to cover how to play around also, is the screens. Screens will remove the corresponding lures, being fire, magic, and ice, but the lures can be reapplied and remove the screen. This means that this needs to be done promptly, as rogues and rangers will hurt themselves on the screens as they cause auto-attack damage to be returned, and this also makes it hard to get away with only having one set of lures at the raid. You usually want to have a backup lure monkey at this raid, just to reapply the lures as they get cleansed from the boss. Now, let's talk about the ads. Things are very straightforward when it comes to handling them. You can do one or two ways, of where you have just the main tank them all with Warcry as well, and he holds them away from the DPS while main tanking the boss. This can only be done if you have a super OP tank usually, or you can have a second tank, drag them up to the door, and they can be held there. Now, to talk about positioning at this raid, the tank wants to stand about near the middle of the room. Generally is where you want to hold them, holding Prot just in front of the bottom of the staircase leading down. This way you have your rangers and your rogues. They can all stand up either at the top of the stairs or up on the top rim of the room. This allows them to avoid Rotary Blades by running back up against the wall, or they also can they also don't get hit by the AoE stun Power Surge. Yeah, the Power Surge ability. When your tank is either too far pushed up and Prot is like on the stairs, then the DPS are not going to be able to dodge the Rotary Blades, making this raid much harder. And if the tank is holding Prot too far back, that the DPS now have to stand on the bottom of the stairs or in the center of the room, then they're going to get hit by the freeze, and you're going to again lose a lot of DPS for this. To get Prot into this position, you can have the tank just start at the stairs and then run around the boss to turn him around, facing the center of the room, or you can do a general push with the tank to where you run onto the boss and then have the boss run back to stay at the set auto attack range. Alternative ways to hold this boss would be to have the main tank standing at the top of the stairs, having DPS all flanking the boss on either side. Just be careful that your DPS knows about this setup, as this leaves a lot of rogues and DPS warriors prone to freeze if you stand too far down. This same setup also can be dangerous towards your druids, as they might get caught up in the kinetic swing. And so, lastly, as we talk about drops, the main reason we kill Prot is for the DG. It's the easiest boss to kill that drops dodge gull pieces. The hot swap rings are pretty garbage except for a couple, with mainly Gelly rings and spider rings just being better. The braces are very good. They're some of the best tank braces in the game, and there's a lot of really good DPS and main slot braces as well that this boss can drop. Other than that, I hope that you all found this guide pretty informational, and I hope to see you all next time. Peace.